Hey, it's John, and welcome to the interview. Today, I'm joined by James Orsini, who is the president of the Sasha Group, a VaynerX company. Working alongside Gary Vaynerchuk, James leads the group to help small businesses reach explosive growth potential. The Sasha Group provides educational, consulting, and marketing services for companies from $1 million to $100 million in revenue. So today, we're going to be digging into James's journey as an entrepreneur. His how he keeps himself going every day in his business life and what he's up to in the future. If you want to check out more about the Sasha Group, you can go over to thesashagroup.com. That's thesashagroup.com. We'll also link that up on the show notes page. So James, thank you so much for coming by.
Hey, John, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much. So let's just give the listeners a little bit of your background. What was it like growing up for you? What did you hear about business and success and those kind of things?
Yeah, so born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, son of a plumber who was a sole practitioner. So I was really around, entrepreneurs, if you will, right from the beginning. My brother has his own business. My sister and brother-in-law have their own business. So, I really got to see what it was like as a small business individual providing for a family.
Yeah. So you were born into it almost, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of knew at that moment, though, that I wanted to take a different path, and I was first generation college really from my family, and then went up through Seton Hall University and majored in accounting actually.
Yeah. So what was really your motivation then to get into the business world? Was it the family dynamic, or was it something else? Like, was there a moment in your life, or?
It was funny. I was always had my own little entrepreneurial spirit as well. I remember having really good grades in high school. My parents didn't want me taking a typical job like most of my friends, where they were working at Macy's in the mall to pick up a couple bucks. And my dad said to me at that time, "Hey, what do you like? What do you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I really like cars." So he's like, "Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to build some garages in the back. We're going to put heat and hot water in, and you'll clean cars to make your money." That was really interesting for me because that business took off, and I was able to actually provide a pickup and cleaning delivery type service, which got me around, some people that really had some money, some doctors, lawyers, big businessmen. As I was driving into the nicer, neighborhoods and picking up their cars. And I was like, this is I'm in school for a reason, and I want to be able to find my way, to Park Avenue. And really, that was my first job. It was a Park Avenue, New York City job. So I worked for KPMG right out of school.
Okay. And that just kind of got you going, and you just kind of moved up the ranks there and started rubbing elbows with other business leaders and people like that, and just kind of got
it was good being I'm a New York State CPA, so it was good being an auditor, because as an auditor you get to go in and out of a lot of different businesses. I mean, so you're not in the same place for more than a couple of weeks before seeing something else. And while servicing these clients over a couple of years that I was there, one of the clients was a Saatchi subsidiary, a branding company called Siegel & Gale. And that's the one that stopped me. And I was like, boy, this is a pretty cool environment, and I could see myself in a place like this someday. And that's how I set my scopes on the marketing world that I've been into for the last 25 plus years.
Yeah. So was that your first marketing gig then? You jumped in with them, or was it a different opportunity, or what led you to come to the Sasha Group and to Gary and all that and that?
Yeah. So as the lineage goes, in the 80s, I did what a lot of guys did, and I chased some money and went to Wall Street, and I worked for Goldman Sachs for a couple of years. And then got a call from somebody I worked with at KPMG who had joined the Saatchi subsidiary and asked if I wanted to be part of this public relations company. And I did, and we stayed on there and helped to build what was then the 5th largest public relations firm in the world. I left MS&L Group as it's known today. I went to work for Interbrand. I was their global CFO for 4 years, overseeing I think it was 31 offices in 26 countries, and then became their North American Chief Operating Officer. I then went to work for Saatchi & Saatchi. I was their Chief Operating Officer on the advertising side for 5 years out of their New York office. Took a pivot, became the CEO of a small publicly traded mobile media company, which trades on the NASDAQ. and then found Gary and started out as his chief integration officer 5 years ago. Then became his chief operating officer when his brother resigned from the business and retired, if you will. And now, most recently, the president of this new company that he started in January called the Sasha Group.
Yeah. What were some of your biggest lessons learned along the way? I'm always curious to hear if anything comes to mind for you. Like, 'cause you've taken a lot of different paths over your career, but
Yeah.
you found your way to a pretty incredible company. So how did you do that? Or what would you say if someone was looking to do something similar? What would you say to them?
Yeah, well, I left every company on excellent terms. I'm still in touch with every boss I have ever had. So I think that's a real key indicator. I could pick up the phone anytime and call anybody I've ever worked for. You know, there's a lot of people that sort of crash and burn on their way out, and you better hope that you don't run into them again. But you're surprised, certainly in the marketing world, how small of a world it is. So having a lot of friends or people that speak well of you is good. I mean, reputation is really a big deal. I remember just hearing somewhere where it's reputation is built in drops and lost in buckets, right?
Yeah.
So, finding a way to show that at various levels, you're a good, conscientious worker. You're reliable. People can count on you. They can trust you. They could stretch you out of your comfort zone. How does an auditor become, CEO of a publicly traded company, and what have you? So, I also learned that culture trumps profits. It's very important to keep your eye on culture. I remember. On another interview I did, somebody asked me, like, what was one of your biggest mistakes? And, it was merging 3 public relations companies that I bought in London, and thinking 1 + 1 + 1 would equal 4. And when I was done, 1 + 1 + 1 equaled 1.5.
Yeah.
The cultures just did not belong together. And just because it made sense on paper, didn't mean that it made sense culturally for the 3 different business types that they were.
Right. No, that's a good tip, because a lot of people think you're just hiring talented people to put them together and everything's great. But I can't remember who said it, but they say it like hire for culture, hire for personality, and people can learn skills, right? Like learn technical skills or learn these skills. I mean, obviously it helps that they have those skills, but if they don't have the philosophical agreements amongst the group, it'll be a nightmare, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And facilitating strong leaders is another skill set. You know what I mean? How do you keep everybody active when they each have an opinion, and those opinions may be different?
Right.
So how do you bring it together for the greater cause?
Right. Yeah, that's some good advice. So very cool. And then so after about 5 years ago, you met Gary. How did that occur?
Well, it was funny. I actually I met his brother AJ 10 years ago at the University basketball game. I sat next to him. We just got to talking, and we kind of stayed in touch. And then when I was a CEO at a mobile media company, my developers developed something that they thought would be good for Facebook, and they're like, "Hey, who can we show this to?" And I said, "Yeah, no, this kid, he has a small advertising company, a small social media company. Let me call him up." So I called AJ, and at that time the company was on Park Avenue, and I went in. It was like 200 people there. I was like, "Wow, this is a real company now. It's not just a couple guys in a cubicle."
Right.
So when I left CEDO, I called AJ to just say, "Hey, man, I'm going to be back in New York City, back in big advertising, and I'll see you soon." And he was like, "Did you ever meet my brother Gary?" And I said, "No." He said, "Did you ever hear of him?" And I said, "Not really." So he said, "All right, well, let's get you a meeting." And I took a meeting with him, and that went well. And then we later had dinner together. And he told me at that time, he said, "Hey, James, I want to build a $500 million integrated international independent communications company. Can you help me do it?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I can." So he's like, "All right, well, then don't take one of those other big advertising jobs. You've already had that already. Why don't you, step out on this cloud and do this with me?" So that was 5 years ago. We were, I think, 42 million, a little under 400 people at the time. And, we ended last year about 150 million, a little over 800 people.
Yeah, very cool. I wonder what was it that he saw in you that, is it just your background and your history as you guys were talking and sharing about each other? Is that what it was, or was there something else?
Well, Gary's pretty literal. So he said, listen, you've made 25 years of mistakes that I don't want to make. So help me avoid the holes and move faster. So I think he really hired me for wisdom and experience, because there is no substitute for that. And I had it.
Yeah.
Remember, I as we went through, I was in public relations, branding, general market advertising, mobile media. And he wanted to be all that.
Yeah. So you had all of this collective knowledge for over a lot longer period than he had been in the game as well. So he kind of wanted to jump on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, remember, he was a retailer by trade. He wasn't an advertiser.
Right.
So which is both a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because it's refreshing and you don't come with 150 years of baggage. This is the way we've had to do it. But it's a curse in that you got to figure out how it was done so you can do it better.
Right.
And I think that's early on, that's what I brought to the table.
I love that. That's great. Congratulations. That's awesome. What a fun journey.
Absolutely. It's been a blast, and it continues to be. I mean, I be here each and every day because it's a really cool place to be.
At the end of the interview, I'd like to hear kind of where you guys are heading to. But before we get there, what does your typical day look like? So you've obviously got I'm sure you have a busy schedule. I think the listeners always like to hear kind of, what the day sounds like, or how do you keep yourself in prime shape to get so much done? But what does your typical day look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you really want to start from the premise of it, it's up at 5:50. It's an elliptical machine. It's, a good breakfast, relaxing cup of coffee, and some quick news feed to get a feel for what's going on in Twitter. I look at Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram before leaving for work. Public transportation commute in from Jersey to Manhattan. And then, each day is different, to be quite honest. I am a great facilitator. So what that means is that I take the time to understand what other people do, and then, put the pieces together so the machine operates more efficiently, and faster than it would have done. So, people ask me all the time, so who's your admin? I said, I don't have an admin. They said, well, who works for you? I said, nobody works for me. They said, well, how do you get stuff done? I said, I take the time to learn what everybody else does, and then I use everybody that's here. And the bigger the company gets, the more stuff I get done because there's the more people to do it. It's a difference between delegation and facilitation. So I'm a really good facilitator. You wrap up typically around 6:30ish before commuting back. But now, with mobile devices, you're always on. It's not like you shut off. I just 30-year wedding anniversary, a little steal away getaway down in Florida. It's not like I didn't answer emails for 4 days. It's you do what you need to do to keep the business moving.
How do you unwind?
I spend time with family. I really love spend the time with my family. I have three children now. One who graduated college and now is at KPMG. I have a senior at Penn State, and I have a freshman at Lehigh. So I love spending time with my family and extended family as well. Both my wife's side and my family are big. So, anytime I get to spend with them is really good, relaxing time for me.
No hobbies or anything you like to do, or is it mostly you're a work guy and a family guy, and that's you?
The funny part is business is my hobby. Yeah. I don't really see it as work. So people will laugh all the time because I'll be on the beach and I'll be reading a business book, or I'll be on vacation and I'm flipping through the Wall Street Journal, and they're like, "Man, don't you shut off?" And the funny part is, for me, that is my hobby. When I'm not here, I'm likely helping somebody else solve a business problem that they have in my network. I mentor probably over 350 people, I would say. I serve Seton Hall University. I serve Seton Hall Prep. I sit on the board of a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center for men called Renovation House. So, I stay active socially as well.
Yeah. You love what you do. I know I'm the same way. I have a hard time putting that stuff down or not looking or reading something about, I love marketing as well. So I'm always kind of trying to read something there, business or personal development or.
I share a lot too. So as I consume content, I push it out to others around me. Like, hey, thought you'd be interested in this. Take a look at this.
Yeah.
This is what we talked about last week. Here's an example of something that I was showing you. So, if I don't do that 15 times a day, I don't do it once.
Yeah. Kind of feeds into your connector, facilitator kind of being, right? You love people, you love working through people and
Yeah, it's true. And it goes a long way. You'd be surprised how many people really take the nod like, wow, he was actually thinking about me. It could have only been for a moment, but we had a conversation 3 weeks ago. He remembered that conversation, thought enough to send me a piece of relevant content. So it's a lot of wow factors. For me, it's second nature. It's not laborious at all. But for others who are receiving it, it's a real personal touch.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you keep yourself in prime shape? You mentioned exercise in the morning. Is that the key thing, or is that how?
Yeah, I actually have a commercial elliptical in my home, which 4 days a week it's cardio for 30 minutes. One day it's stretching. Saturday I have a private trainer, who I work out with. Sunday's my day of rest. So, and really it's just to keep me healthy, to be quite honest. And even with that, I'll pull back out or do something crazy like that. So, but I do make a sincere effort to do so. We're sort of empty now a little bit until my next one graduates, and then it comes and lives home for a little bit longer. But and as a result of that, my wife's got us eating a little better than when there was 5 of us around the table.
Sounds good. So diet and exercise. Yep, the basics. Okay, so selfish question here. Let's talk marketing for a little bit. What do you see as kind of some of the bigger trends happening in digital right now?
Well, content is king, and putting out as much content as possible is more important than perfecting the content. In my day, it was limited, right? So Gary says the internet is limitless. So limited meaning, hey man, I only got 30 seconds for this commercial. I got to make sure that it's perfect. There's only 60 pages in this magazine. I really need my picture to look like art, right? So those kind of things limited, as opposed to the internet, which is limitless, and your goal is to put out as much content as you possibly can. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Double down on the stuff that's working, pull back on the stuff that's not. So it's really a content production game now.
Yeah, volume play, and then across platforms, multi-platforms, multimedia.
Well, and recognizing that the consumer does not consume the content the same way across every platform. That's where a lot of people make the mistake. They take one piece of content, they say, great, now I'm going to put it on LinkedIn, I'm going to put it on Facebook, I'm going to put it on Twitter, I'm going to put it on Instagram. But people consume the content differently on each one of those platforms. So you need to modify it slightly for the way the consumer is actually consuming the content there.
Right. So I think one of the issues that a lot of businesses have is the time to actually make those modifications and things like that, right? Versus just, let's say, creating a long form piece of video content and repurposing that across all the platforms and different avenues. Are you an advocate of that, or are you more of like...
Well, this is what makes VaynerMedia and VaynerX so special, right? So when I was at Saatchi, we would shoot a 30 or 60 second commercial and then try and figure out a way to chop it up to have it reside in other places. Mm-hmm. In the VaynerMedia world, the creatives, the producers go in with the eye and understanding of multiple platforms, right? So you go into that with a different eye in how you're capturing the content, right? So we call it sweating the assets. So yes, there is one long form video, but we will make sure that what we're capturing in that same shoot is something that's right for YouTube or something that's right for Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest, right? So all of that stuff, it's just a different approach to really garnishing the attention. And we try and do that at the most underpriced attention that we can, right? Bringing you the most value for it. Mm-hmm. It was funny. we had said, because people say, well, yeah, you don't do television commercial. I'm just looking at Ad Week today. Like we just put out a television commercial for Pepsi in the blue can. It's something for Christmas with Cardi B. It's about underpriced attention. Gary believes the Super Bowl is underpriced, right? It's the most expensive television commercial. But when you think about how people are talking about it the week before, they're watching it the day of, they're talking about it the week after. He thinks it's underpriced. Maybe a commercial on the Oscars may be overpriced, as an example.
Mm-hmm. So you guys are an advocate then of video and leveraging that and repurposing that content, but you have a special lens or a framework to make sure that video is done correctly so that it is usable across a variety of platforms.
Yeah, look, we have a 40,000 square foot commercial studio in Long Island City. That really handles all that video production. I don't know any other standalone advertising agency that has a production house like that. We can, by tying the creative with the media and the production, we can just deliver a much more efficient product. Because it's all in one spot, right? The 400-meter runner has a faster time than the 400-meter relay. They're both still going 400 meters, but in the relay, you have to slow down each time to pass that baton. Okay, if you're the same guy running the race, you get a better time. So having it all here under the VaynerX umbrella, it just makes us a little more faster and efficient.
Very cool. Well, where are you guys heading in the future then? Like what's the focus? What would you like to share? Like what's the future for James and also for the Sasha Group and Vayner and that whole group?
Yeah, so I don't think Gary's goal has changed from that dinner that we had 5.5 years ago. I mean, he wants to be a $500 million independent, integrated international communications company. So, he most recently opened an office in Singapore as well. So it's now London and Singapore. I would bet Latin America is not too far off. Under the VaynerX umbrella, we have the VaynerMedia that services the Fortune 500 clients. We have the Vayner Productions, the studio that I just spoke to you about. We have something called the Gary Media Group, which is digital publishing, right? There's a female magazine called Pure Wow, if you will, and a male, 1:37 p.m., which is sort of like Entrepreneur meets GQ magazine. We have a SaaS dashboard product for media called Tracer. Now we actually have a company that just targets the sub $100 million type companies. And our goal is to get them to outgrow the Sasha Group and grow into VaynerMedia. So it's almost like a feeder farm team, if you will. The people that I have here have all come from VaynerMedia. We didn't go outside to hire. I peeled off 40 or 50 people between here, New York, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, to help service these clients. So, and I think we hit a real nerve here because I don't know anything like it in the space. This type of client base is used to being serviced by B players and C companies on their best day. And we just brought them the A team now, so it's really having an impact on their businesses.
Awesome. Well, we'll be excited to follow and keep track on what you're up to. Then, any final words, and then we'll wrap up the discussion today.
Yeah, I just think this company is special. It's special because it's a people first, honey empire, culturally driven company. Doing the right thing is always the right thing, and we try to be honest and transparent with all of our clients. We walk away from some clients just based on sheer honesty. We really try not to oversell our capability, but we're constantly learning. So if the capability wasn't here last month, come back again because it could be here next month. It's explosive growth, right? We're going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. And you're talking about a company that's going to hit 1,000 employees in the not too distant future. So we're excited about what we're doing here. I'm honored that he selected me to run this new company that he started here. Yeah. And we have our own goals here, right? Our goal is to try and get this thing to 100 million in 4 years, half the time that it took VaynerMedia. So year one was successful as we look in the rearview mirror. We hope to double in year two.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing and stopping by, James. If everyone listening, go to thesashagroup.com. That's thesashagroup.com. I've also linked up James on LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you want to reach out and say hi to him, you can do that. So awesome, James. Well, thank you so much for coming by, and hope everybody enjoyed this discussion. And we will see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.